Foggy Bottom Line Media. Hello, everybody. This is Stan Scott with Foggy Bottom Line Media. Hey, Scott, thanks for jumping on at the last minute.
You bet.
We wanted to do a real quick, short 10-minute or so video here to get this out there. Scott, have you ever heard of the what is it called? The Military Religious Freedom Foundation? You ever heard of them?
Yeah, I have. I haven't heard too much about it, although I think we both read an article or a post that they put up today about this.
This is an organization that supports military service members, soldiers, airmen, Marines, who feel like they've been discriminated against on the grounds of their religious belief in the service, in the military service. And you can imagine this being a problem if your commander is a huge evangelical Christian and you're Muslim or Jewish or atheist or Catholic. You can imagine there being some issues, perhaps with promotions or just given the rough jobs or the bad postings. If you don't align yourself with the commander's religious belief, there's a lot of power the commander has over your daily life.
Right.
A lot of power an NCO would have. When I was a platoon sergeant, if I had wanted to exercise that authority in a discriminatory way, the Military Religious Freedom Foundation gives soldiers and airmen, Marines, someone to contact and help them with what do they call it? Inspector General
Right.
investigations, things like that. Right, Scott? So,
Right.
And I don't know if you've ever encountered them before, but Scott and I both saw a report from the MRFF this morning that we wanted to bring to you and get online so that we can talk about it quickly and then follow up on it later. We're getting reports from the field. Service members, NCOs, are sending emails to the foundation saying that commanders, as they went to war in Iran, commanders were saying, hey, don't worry, it's all God's plan. I'm going to read briefly a quote from one of the emails that the commander said, President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth, Jesus' return to earth. So, Scott, tell me what you think about the idea that this attack on Iran is intended by Trump or anyone else, or will it have the effect of creating the conditions for Jesus to come back and for the rapture and all that stuff to happen?
Yeah. So first of all, I see kind of a good news, bad news implied in here. The bad news is there are people in the military that do have strong religious views and occasionally impose them on others or create an environment that reflects those values that aren't necessarily shared values. The good news is it's very, very rare that it happens, but it can be very devastating when it does happen. In terms of the whole idea, I think a lot of people who with a Christian background, just generally, probably think of Armageddon now and again as they watch the news, but they have been doing that for years. I remember in the Gulf War, a lot of folks, not commanders, just regular soldiers, would muse about, oh, is this Armageddon? We're going to war in the Middle East. And then once the oil wells got lit up and burning and the sky turned black and you couldn't breathe and it looked like a scene out of Dante's Inferno, more people even start saying, is this what was in Revelations? Is this part of the whole thing? But, people have been doing that, forever. And if you want to look at just the Christian theology on this, nobody knows when Jesus is going to come back. Those who believe that he will. And so, and the scriptures even say nobody knows. So for people to presume that they know is kind of counter their religious beliefs. To think that somebody's going to force Jesus to come down because they're having this war we invaded Iran.
Yeah, my understanding of the theology, and I will admit to having read the Left Behind books, the LaHaye and that other guy who wrote these books about the rapture. I will admit to have read those, but my understanding of the theology is that there are some conditions that have to be met before Jesus will come back, and this all comes from Revelation, right? The book of Revelation. And one of those, I think, the Temple Mount has to be rebuilt, or there's a temple in Jerusalem that has to be rebuilt, and the Bible also says that there will be a war. That is, some group will attack Israel, right? Like lots of countries will attack Israel, and then God Himself will stop the attack, right? So there are some conditions that have to happen. And I think what's going on here is that some of these folks in their theology, they think that this attack could create those conditions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And, I really respect people who feel strongly about their religious beliefs and about their interpretation of how the end of the earth is going to come about, or the return of Jesus, or whatever their faith or theology is. But we have to remember that the military is a very, very diverse and pluralistic organization. It's not uniform in terms of being Christian, or even within Christianity, the views are wide-ranging. And it's never appropriate or proper for someone to impose or infuse their personal religious dialectic on their troops, particularly if you're in a position of authority. But all of us that have some kind of beliefs are entitled to have them. And
Sure.
but we're not entitled to make other people have those same views about things. And I think one of the challenges of that this situation kind of represents in the military is this collision of personal liberties and freedom of religion of the commander, in this case, to believe what he wants to believe, and also other troops who don't necessarily want to believe what he believes. And the impact that this could have on morale and discipline, and the way people are treated within that unit is really problematic from a military perspective. But also, one of the other things that concerns me about these kinds of views being normalized in a commander and in their speeches and behavior is religious beliefs will often trump, excuse the pun, I'll change the word, often outweigh the
I think you had it right the first time.
the oath that we take as NCOs and officers in the military, an oath to the Constitution to support and defend. And it gets problematic, and you have to start questioning the judgment of commanders who start weighting their religious commitments, their religious fealty over their oath of office and their commitment to defend the Constitution. They're free to believe whatever they want to believe, but once those beliefs guide and their actions and their decisions and how they accomplish their mission, then especially if that creates any conflicts with the Constitution and right. UCMJ and good law and order, that's when I think it becomes problematic.
I think that's absolutely an issue, but I think there's a larger one here that we need to look at, and folks, Scott and I will continue to track this. In that larger issue, I remember when the first Gulf War started, I was stationed in Germany. My unit did not deploy, but I will tell you that a lot of people in the units I was in were chomping at the bit to go, officers especially. And they were chomping at the bit to go, I think, because they'd spent a career training for combat. And they, on some level, you just want to see how good you are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I totally get it. But I didn't see anyone saying, oh, great, let's go and bring Jesus back. And so my point here is that there is not a shred of belief in my head that Donald Trump started this in an effort to try to get Jesus back, right? I don't think Donald Trump did it. That's not why he did it. Okay. Donald Trump didn't do that for this reason. Donald Trump did it for some transactional reasons that we talked about in this week's, our earlier show this week. And you should go see that, folks. If you're watching this, go check out the longer version we did on the Iran attack in general. I think it's a lot more transactional for Trump. But Hegseth is a member of this crazy man church out in Idaho, I think, right? Who these are Christian nationalists. And Hegseth probably really does believe that there's a chance that this could, create the conditions for the return of the Savior, of Jesus Christ. And if the United States government or anyone in the United States government, from Trump to Hegseth on down to a company commander of a tank company in Killeen, Texas, if anyone in the United States government is using the United States military to start a war because they think it will create the conditions to bring back Jesus Christ, then they need to be out of the military.
Right.
They need to be out of the government. They need to be out of the military. And they're free to have all those views they want. But if they're sending your kids to war and putting your kids in harm's way because they think this is going to bring on the rapture, there's a problem there.
Right.
And they need to be gone.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think our Secretary of Defense it really embodies the what that threat could look like.
Right.
And this is certainly something that we as Americans and as former soldiers and veterans should keep an eye on and make sure that it doesn't get out of hand.
Right. There's a lot of threads here, folks, starting with the Iran attack in the first place, the Christian nationalism component to this, how much of this is transactional. There's a thread here about we're finding out that there are commanders in the U.S. military with the power to, with the authority and the mission to command your kids in combat zones who believe this kind of thing. And Scott and I, over the course of the next few weeks, are going to pull on some of those threads. You can look for this on the Two Crusty Old Combat Soldiers show. You can look at this on What the Right Looks Like, because one reason because of this is I'll start taking a look at these Christian nationalists and this pastor that Hegseth follows and where they might be getting these ideas. But we wanted to get on real quick and do a real quick 10, 15 minute spot report type of show just to bring this up, get it out there, get it on YouTube and all that. So if you think this is helpful, if you think it's important, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit the bell, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think let us know what you think about the idea that attacking Iran along with Israel and some of the Gulf states, and this war is spreading out. It's not just in Iran now. It's all over the Gulf, the Arab countries, all over the Gulf there, all over the Middle East. And we'd like to know, do you think that this could actually bring on the rapture? If you do, I'd love to hear your story there, because this is all very interesting to us, and it's hugely problematic that the U.S. military might be used for this kind of purpose. Scott, any final thoughts? Close it out.
Yeah, just what's been going through my head the last couple of days is we've stepped into a giant pile of dog poop, and I don't think Trump saw it coming.
No.
So,
yeah, well, more to come on this, folks. You can expect us to talk about this next week, but we're going to pull on these threads, try to keep you informed, let you know what we think about it as two crusty old combat soldiers. We both have decades of military experience and decades of policy experience, political experience, and we spent our lives trying to understand how these things work. And we want to try to share that knowledge and perspective with you folks. So let us know what you think. Subscribe to the channel and all that garbage. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you joining me real quick without much notice. More to come, everyone. Stay tuned, because this is an interesting question, and we're going to pull these threads as hard as we can. Right, Scott?
Right. Good to see you, Stan.
Take care, sir. Good to see you too.
Carry on.
Carry on. Everyone, this is Stan Scott from Foggy Bottom Line Media, and we are out here. Thanks for listening.